up, fam? It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to the Living for You YouTube channel, a place where it is safe for us to have real dialogue, meaningful dialogue, healthy dialogue, a place where we can grow together, be together, and all those other things. You know how we normally do it. But because this week has been different, this has been a blitz, so to speak, of me just releasing videos, discussing the current situation to kind of help us all kind of navigate our way through this so that we come out of the other side, okay? It's been a little different. So, normally my videos are a little more upbeat, a little more energy behind it, but these are more informative, more educational, more a discussion of something more important, kind of focusing on the moment today. So, when it's important, we have to be able to shift our knowledge and shift our mindset to deal with what we're dealing with. That has been our story. So that is why we're here. As you can see, we've been going every day doing what we said we were going to do. I've been keeping my promise. This is actually the 5th video in this blitz, and so we're doing pretty well. And there's plenty of feedback on the last 4 videos. Keep that feedback coming. And speaking of that, I'd like to shout out my subscribers. Thank you. Keep subscribing, keep liking, keep coming back, keep viewing, keep watching, keep sharing. I appreciate all of that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And to the new people, welcome. You can get more about me in the description. I'm not going to bore you with those details, but you can go down and get that information in subscription. You can also watch other videos. There's an introduction video. There's other videos in which I talk about my background. And how and what I do and why I do what I do when I do what I do. So anyway, so welcome. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, all of those things, and just keep it going. We're going to keep having these conversations this week when we wrap this up. It doesn't mean that's going to stop the dialogue. I want this dialogue to go on and on and on and on, because the struggle, or what we're protesting, what we're fighting for, has gone on for years, and we need this protest and this fighting for what we're fighting for to go on and on and on until we see some changes. And I've been noticing things that I haven't seen in previous moments, and so there is seemingly to be some headway being made, but keep pushing. If you're out there on the streets protesting, keep pushing. If you're protesting with your money, keep pushing. If you are planning and strategizing for different things, keep pushing, keep going. Don't let the moment pass simply and just let it fade off into obscurity, as so many things do nowadays, where it's a hot moment and then all of a sudden, a year from now, all you have left is the residue of it, and no change. We're pushing for change, so I need you all to keep pushing, stay on target, stay on focus. The focus we are fighting is racism, injustice, inequality, biases, and prejudices in this country. I want you to go out and fight, keep pushing. That is my encouragement to those who are on the ground. And there are some on the ground going through all kinds of stuff, from tear gas to smoke bombs to being tased to altercations with the cops. And most of them are peaceful protests. I know the media sometimes, and sometimes other people try to spin it as though this is just some crazy, chaotic, looting, rioting situation. That's one aspect of it, but that's not the main aspect of it. The main aspect of it is the peaceful protests who are part of the larger movement and who are getting the backlash of all of it. And none of them are actually looting or rioting, they're just protesting. So I want those who are doing it that way to keep pushing. Anyway, so welcome to the channel. Obviously you can see that I'm kind of, fired up. I'm encouraged, and I'm optimistic that we're moving, right? We're moving. The journey continues, and we're going to see some movement from this. And there's a lot of young people, so shout out to my young people, because I love my young people. I support them. So shout out to them for pushing. All right. So here we go. So I've talked about a lot of things, right? I gave some historical context to why we're protesting, why what's going on. You can go back and watch previous videos where I talk about that from this week. I gave some context into what rioting and looting is and how there is actually an American precedence for that. It's not like that's just randomly pulled out and like this is the first time it's ever happening. That's actually been a continual occurrence thousands of times over the course of United States history. So there's a lot of historical precedents that I gave. And then yesterday I did an interesting video in which I focused directly and targeted the white community. And I know some of my white brothers and sisters, you guys are sitting here listening to as well, and I want to say hi and shout out to you. You're welcome to this table because we all have to get to where we need to get to go on this table. So if we don't sit together and talk together, there'd be no change. So yeah, I talked directly to the white community and I said these are things that need to change immediately, effective immediately, not tomorrow, not next week, not a month, not a year, not 10 years from now, immediately. Because these are pressing things that are pushing, agitating, pressuring the black community, and it leads to where we are, right? It's contributing. When you think about the George Floyd situation, it wasn't just the murder of George Floyd that led to these protests. That was a continual of agitations. Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia. And then when you talk about all of the Karens and the people approaching us and antagonizing us and over and over and over and over again, seeing it on social media and on television, it's getting to us. It's always gotten to us, and now people are at the boiling point. And with social media, it seems to emphasize it more, but really it's always happened. It's just now you're seeing it more because people are exposing people a whole lot more for their racism and their bigotry and their stuff all over. So I've seen all kinds of things where people have lost their jobs, people have been fired, people have had to resign over making statements via social media because people have gotten a hold of it and they've shared it and they've copied it. So people just aren't playing the same way that they used to play as it relates to certain things just passing by. Be mindful of that. So since yesterday I talked to the white community, I think now it's most importantly to talk to my family, my people, my community, us, the black community. It is important. I think this is probably, out of all of the discussions, the most important discussion that we can have. And so, because here's the thing, we can't let this moment pass. We can't let this opportunity that we have for changes to occur. But we have to also realize that while it's important to call out racism and bigotry and prejudice and bias and other things outside of the community in order to see a change here in America that is vitally necessary and vitally needed and that is important, it is equally, if not more so, important for us to go within our own communities and begin to start making changes, because now there is no excuse. We have access to so much stuff now. We have access to information. We have access to places that we didn't have before. We have access to capital and wealth and things that we didn't have before. So technically, and I tell this to people all the time, there is no other time in United States history in which African American people, black people, have had total opportunity, a full moment of opportunity to be able to see change in our community. There was always some type of inhibitor. There was always something preventing us. There was always a obstacle to overcome in order for us to get over certain things in our community. And so because of where we are now and what we have now, there is no moment like the present for us to make some serious changes in our community. And of course, as Billie Holiday says, God bless the child that got his own. Because this shouldn't be a moment that when the outside community, when America changes, things will get better. This should be a moment that whether America changes and racism ends or not, we are going to make some serious, deep-seated, heavily weighted, intense, super overreaching changes within the black community. This is our moment to stand up, wake up, do what we need to do for ourselves. God bless the child that got his own. And so, since this topic is so important and it's so big and it's so huge, I'm actually going to divide it into two separate videos. Today's video is going to do one part of it, and the video tomorrow is going to deal with the last part of it. And the first, because this is a vitally important situation. And the first part, I'm going to talk and address with how we treat each other, how we interact with each other, how we see each other, what we should be doing for, with, about each other, right? So more of the social interactions and how the African American community can come together, right? And then tomorrow I'll deal with other things like economics and a plan and how things could work in that way, how we can shift our focus and start changing things in that way. Because there is power here. But I do believe that the change that we need has to start from us working together, organizing, getting on one accord together. So let's talk about that. All right, so my first point, and this is a loud point, and I will say it with boldness, honesty, and truth. There is no tremor, there is no fear. All Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. I do not care if you are Christian, Muslim, Jew, atheist, trans, gay, bi, or hetero, Republican or Democrat, rich or poor, old or young, suburban or urban. I do not care about any of those distinctions. All Black lives matter. And let me be clear. Saying all Black lives matter isn't like saying all lives matter. Because there are people within the community who think that when you say all Black lives matter, they equate it to the saying of all lives matter. No, all lives matter is a way of trying to devalue that we're focused on Black issues. All Black lives matter is a way of saying we as Black people don't have a choice but to be inclusive. It's a big word, inclusive of all Black lives, period. I was looking online, you guys know that's what I do, and I was reading that on social media and Google and news and stuff, all of that, and then this story came up. This story came up about a trans woman named Ayana Dior, who was 21 years old in Minneapolis, and I saw the video. And I'm sure some of you saw the video, in which some 20 to 30 people jumped on her, beating her. And the video went on for quite a little while, and just 20 to 30 random people. I don't know what the situation was because I wasn't there, but some 20 to 30 people were jumping on this trans woman, shouting out homophobic slurs and all kinds of other things. And guess what? Like I said before, this was in Minneapolis. This happened just about a week ago. Minneapolis is the same exact place in which that cop killed George Floyd, and we're protesting all over the world about the mercilessly murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And in that same city, we have an attack on a Black trans woman. Same place. Same place where we're fighting and we're protesting against racism and bigotry and all of this stuff. This is the same place. Now let me put some things into context for you. There has been, according to the American Medical Association, an epidemic of trans women of color being killed. Right? They say in 2019, reportedly there were 26 reported ones, and 91% of those 26 were Black women, Black trans women. So this story, and what bothers me the most is the story made it all over media. I saw the story on Rolling Stones magazine. Then I saw it in other places. And it's all over the media, being covered in huge numbers in white media. What it does is it shines a light. What it says to somebody who is logical thinking like me, but I know it would say to somebody outside of our communities that all Black lives don't matter. And that if all black lives don't matter, why should we give a damn about any black lives? Because they don't care about black lives. You know, like I know, one of the very first arguments that people bring up when you say all black lives matter is the conversation of, well, why don't y'all stop killing black on black people? Why don't black people stop killing black people? What about black on black crime? So it is an automatic thing to use. When they see you attacking 20 to 30 people, a trans woman, during a moment like this, it magnifies it. Black trans lives matter too, because all black lives matter. And that we have to get beyond our differences. Our homophobia, no, that's unacceptable. Our sexism, no, that's unacceptable. Ageism, all that's unacceptable. We have to realize that all our voices count. The same way that heterosexual people are out there marching for George Floyd, there are a lot of LGBTQ plus SGL people marching for George Floyd out there as well, and getting beaten in the streets equally, because what matters to them is their blackness. I've read things that say, well, I'm black first, black second, black third. I don't care about gay rights. But if you care about your brothers and sisters, if you care about those who look like you, then you care about all the fair treatment and equality of all black people. So all black lives matter. We got to stop discriminating and dividing ourselves among these sectional lines, because at the end of the day, we are more stronger the more of us can come together. Let it go. Let it go. Can't you realize how powerful we would be if we allowed that to happen? Do you realize the visible strength in sheer numbers, in sheer money, in sheer power we would be if truly all black lives matter? Let it go. Let it go. My next point is we got to stop. We got to deal with black on black crime. Yeah, we do. We do. And I'm not going to harp too long on it, because I understand that it comes from a system of something deeper, and there's other oppressions behind it, and there is a systematic thing that is creating poverty in our communities, which leads to struggle and competition and divisiveness from outside of our communities, and all kinds of other things like drugs that were imported into our communities, and all kinds of things that lead to it. And that there's also some self-esteem and self-awareness and psychological things. So it's a very deep issue when we talk about black on black crime, but let's be clear. We need to address it. In order for us to be taken seriously, that cannot continue to be an argument. In order for us to move forward, that cannot continue to be an argument. How can we say we're going to stand and rise and protest and march for George Floyd because they're killing black men, when we're killing black men and there won't be enough black men to march? When I look at these new movements, when I look at all of these educated in these kind of movements up for black people, the majority of them are women. Me being a college professor, majority of the black students in my class were women. And that's unacceptable. Unacceptable. CEOs, CFOs, not a lot of them are black men. And that's not to say that black men are intelligent. We are. You saw my last video. I mentioned it. We intelligent. But we have to start doing intelligent things. And killing each other isn't one of them. So I'm not going to harp too long on that. But that goes over to the overreaching situation with black trans lives, and that all black lives matter. Little black boys, black men, your lives matter. And so therefore, see that in each other. Love yourself to where you won't harm yourself, so therefore you won't harm somebody else or someone else's loved one. Like I said, I'm not going to harp too long on that, but y'all know what I'm saying. Y'all, we here. My third point is we have got to bridge the age gap in the black community, right? Because one of the things that I've noticed the most during this time of protest and civil rights movement happening, this neo-civil rights movement, and I'm going to call it that. It might be, that's probably what we'll be calling it as historians in the future, this neo-civil rights movement, is that there is a difference in how the ages see it. The young people, they're radical, they're fired up, they're ready to tear stuff down. They support the rioting and the looting and saying we're going to burn this thing down. You know, they're more anarchist for a cause. We'll burn this thing down from the ground up and then rebuild it, and that way that solves the problem. The older people are like, no, peaceful, Martin Luther King, nonviolence. And they're upset at how things are happening. I'm literally communicating all the time with the different age groups within the black community, seeing, like, I feel like I'm in the middle, because I am in the middle of it all. I'm young enough to feel the fire and to feel the riot and the protest and understand it and the radicalism of it, but I'm also old enough to know that the forefathers were just right there, getting beaten in the street, being nonviolent. I know all of that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm in the middle, but I'm seeing both sides. I'm understanding both sides. There's got to be a bridge between the two. Because here's the thing, young people, you can learn something from those old people. They're not still around if they didn't know what it took to still be around. So you can sit down and sit at their feet and gain their wisdom and continue to respect them. All of the mothers and the fathers and our family who wear that gray crown of wisdom deserves to be respected. So continue to respect the older ones, the elders, because they're the guides for us to continue this legacy, for us to prolong this movement, and it not be a light movement where we just stop and it's a fad today and it's going tomorrow. Because trust me, one day the cameras are going to go away. The white people who are on the team, a lot of them are going to go away back to their homes. The media is going to move. And what? Is the movement going to stop? That's why it's important for us to connect to that older generation who are willing to who have seen this situation for many years, and they're tired too, and they want to see it through. They want to see. I saw a clip with David Banner where he said that. He said we got to focus so that this just doesn't be something that we lose our attention from, and that we see all the way through. And I 100% agree with David Banner on that. 100% agree. We got to see this through. See, he kind of in my age demographic where we in the middle. Older people. You might not understand the young people's methods. You might not understand their tactics, and you might think they're way too radical. But you got to get out of the way. You got to move. Right? You got to pass the baton on and say, you know what, I don't get your methods, but I know that you want what I want. And so because I don't have the energy and the effort to still continue to go on, I'll move and allow you to take the helm. And I will sit here and I will wait in the wings to be the wisdom and the guide that you will definitely, most likely need after all is said and done. Come home and we will recharge you and send you back out. So elders, you have got to be those guys. You have got to be that wisdom. You have got to be strong enough in yourself to say, you know what they're doing. You understand their cause. You lived through it. You were once young. So yes, while we respect you as our elders, you also have to know it's time to step aside, move aside, and allow them to deal with the movement the way they've dealt with the movement. But don't leave them alone. Be there when they come home to recharge them or to help them recharge. So yeah, so we got to bridge this gap. It has to be. We need to be on the same page, at least understanding that we're fighting for the same thing. You fought for what you fought for back in the day, and we're fighting for what we're fighting for today. And we have to realize that it's the same outcome we desire. Different methods, same outcome, bridge the age gap. That is one of the most important things we can do, period. And then my last point talks about spirituality, religion. The black community is devoutly religious. In fact, all statistics show that we're more than likely the most religious group in this country. Religion has been, specifically Christianity and Islam, have been our way of traversing our way through tough times and through moments in history. And we've used from slavery on, since the slavery and into modern times. That has been our way. But realize that Christianity and Islam are just one and two of the ways to where we need to go. It's not required. It's not the all in all be all, Now, you guys know, and that's a powerful thing for me to say because I am spiritual. I do believe in the power of religion. That is my background. I am a minister of all things. But at the end of the day, I know that it is one way. These young people might not be trying to hear that one way, but we have to realize that they're not losing something if they're not. And I know some of you are saying, well, you always got to keep God first. Yes. But God and religion aren't the same thing. Right? Those aren't the same thing. And we have to realize that people are starting to see even beyond that limited perspective of a greater awareness. I'm more so about spiritually connecting, right? Being spiritually centered. I help my clients to do that. I do that myself. That's very important to me. And of course, when I get towards the end of this blitz, this series that I've been doing, I'm going to end it in a spiritual place because that is my nature. That is who I am. That is my center. But I clearly, long time ago, made a distinction between organized religion, religious leaders, Christianity, Islam, or whatever, and spirituality. And it doesn't always have to look the same way. Right? There are many multi-dimensions to spirituality. And in those many multi-dimensions to spirituality, we have to realize that we use it differently. People manifest it differently. It is a force. So it is a force that is manifest in many different ways. While you might not understand somebody's quest to spirituality, it is not your place to judge it and say that it is wrong, right, or indifferent. You have to allow people to show up. So while Christianity is a powerful tool, a powerful life path for many people across the planet, it's one path. And we as black people have to hone in on spirituality in general. Whether it's African spirituality, whether it's a more intuitive spirituality, we have to hone in on that collectively. See our similarities within all our different spiritual practices and bring them together. Because out there on those protest streets, there are many people of many different paths fighting for a cause, where their religion might be important to them, but the cause is connecting them together. And so your spirituality should be able to be connected to your causes if you do it the right way. So remember that. As a community, we have to wake up and say, you know what? Just because Martin Luther King was a reverend, and a lot of the civil rights people were ministers, and a lot of them were Christians, and that carried us through. It ain't what got us there. African spirituality, truth be told, is what carried us in the beginning of slavery. Because they weren't Christianizing very easy. That was one of the most difficult things for slaves to grapple a hold of, was the Christian faith. It took years and years and ancestors later to be able to grapple onto it. And if you look at it deeply and study it really intently, you realize that we didn't fully grapple on to the Europeanized Christianity. We grappled onto an Africanized version of it that we still see in many churches across the country today. And so you have to understand that spirituality is what it is, that we need to connect together in order to see progress. So these are things we need to really focus on as a community. We need to realize that spirituality can be connected in many different ways outside of Christianity, Islam, and our traditional faith that we see all the time, and that's okay. We need to recognize that there is a divide between the older generation and the young generation that should not be there, because we all are in the same direction for the same means. So we can't shade each other. We just need to coexist with each other, support one another, respect each other, so that we can get to where we want to go. We also need to understand that it is simple enough that we have to stop the violence amongst black people. If ever we're going to be one, we have to say, you know what? I can't take you out. We can't take each other out because we're all we got. We represent 13% of the total population in the United States. Less than 13, 12.6% of the total population in the United States. We can't afford to lose any more soldiers in this fight. And so what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to deal with those issues so we can solve those problems. Because I promise you, they're unnecessary in the grand scheme of things. And lastly, but certainly the most important, we have to realize that all Black lives matter. It doesn't matter your differences. It don't matter where you're from. It don't matter who you are, who you believe you are, how you feel. If you're Black, you're going to experience what we're fighting for in this country at some point in your life. Or if not, seeing someone like you, like a George Floyd, get killed before you has an impact on you because that could have been you. And so at the end of the day, we don't have time for these insignificant, pointless, stupid divisions that we make within ourselves that keep us from coming together to work together for the greater good. We got to keep it foremost in our mind that all Black lives matter. That's it. I know, that was deep. I know it was heavy. I know I was feeling like I was preaching and pounding, but some things you got to go in deep on. And because I'm talking to family, I got to go in on family and let us know that we got to do what we got to do. So remember what I said? This is a two-parter. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about another aspect of what we can do within our own family to help with our own family's progress and to get to the next level. So I hope you come back and you sit prepared for that one, because that one's going to be good. We're going to talk about some interesting things. I'm going to introduce some different things to you probably that you may or may not have heard of, and I will hopefully you utilize them and they're going to make your life much better, much better. Because we're trying to change the world. We are trying to change our world, our experience here in the United States. This is a global revolution, and we're moving forward. So I love you. You guys know that. You can reach out to me should you have questions. We're going to build from here. That is what we're going to do. And as usual, as I always say, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.